G'day, my name's Josh, and welcome to Read the Bible Online. We're reading about the life of Jesus in the Bible from Mark's account of his life. So if you're joining us today and you're new, I'd love you to grab a Bible, either open up the Bible on your browser or on your phone, or if you've got a paper Bible at home, grab that. We're going to be reading some of the story of Jesus' life from Mark chapter 5, starting at verse 21. Now, the last couple of times we've been reading, so chapter 5, chapter 4, we've seen Jesus rescue people who are perishing. That is, they are dying. They're in the grip of death. It was the disciples crossing the Sea of Galilee, about to perish in a storm. A man possessed by a legion of demons living in the tombs. And now Jesus, who's gone across the sea to the other side, back again into Israel, meets more people who are perishing, people in the grip of death. Let's see what he does. As we read, is our question, the question for Mark's Gospel. Who do you think Jesus is? Mark chapter 5, starting at verse 21. When Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue leaders, named Jairus, came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she'll be healed and live." So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothing?" "You see the people crowding against you," the disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher anymore?" Overhearing what they said, Jesus told him, "Don't be afraid, just believe." He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion, with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." And they laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him, and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha kum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this, and told them to give her something to eat. That's extraordinary, isn't it? Who do you think Jesus is? This, what we just read then, Jesus is back into Israelite territory. Jairus, a synagogue ruler, so a powerful religious man, and many of the synagogue leaders have been opposed to him, haven't they? Comes and says to Jesus, "My daughter is dying, come and heal her." And he goes with him, and on the way, this woman meets him, and she too is suffering, bleeding helplessly. She's spent all her money, and she's trapped. She's lost. There's no way out for her. Yet she believes if she could just touch Jesus and she'd be healed. It's exactly what happens. Once Jesus finds her in the crowd, he says to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you," verse 34. "Go in peace and be free from your suffering." And that raises a question for us, doesn't it? It's not just who do we think Jesus is, but do we believe him? Do we believe in him, that he has the power, that power to heal, that power to cast out demons that we've seen, the power to still a storm, the power to forgive sins? Does he actually have that kind of authority in life? And would he use it for us as well? Because the synagogue leader is now faced with that same question. Will he too believe? Because the news comes to him, your daughter's not just sick, she's dead. And it's obvious that she's dead because when they get to the house, everyone knows she's dead. And they're weeping, and it's public. And it seems like Jesus is trying to downplay what's about to happen. He's trying to keep it a little bit secret and maybe raise some confusion about these things. We know that he's been trying to act and telling people frequently to keep things secret. It seems like the time for people to know who he is and his power voice has not yet come. But he goes in the room with the parents, with his disciples, takes her by the hand and says, "Get up." And she does. And just so that we know that she's not a ghost, he tells her parents to give her something to eat. And everyone's amazed. The people who are amazed are particularly the father, the mother, the disciples, the very people who hoped, believed that Jesus would and could do this. They are amazed. Just imagine if you'd seen it, if it was your daughter, risen from the dead, dead one moment, alive the next. Who is Jesus who can raise the dead, heal the sick, cast out demons, stop a storm, forgive sins? The story keeps going in Mark's Gospel. I'd love to encourage you to read it. We're going to take a break over the next few weeks from doing this Read the Bible series and just pause here. And I'd love you to read ahead. I'd love you to see what Jesus does. He's going to start teaching more about why he has come. So that once we start to understand who he is, we start to see what he has come to do and what that's going to mean for you and I. Well, I hope you've enjoyed reading about Jesus. If you've got questions, pop them in the questions in the comments, and keep reading on. I'll let you know when we're coming back. See ya.